Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com. Welcome to our 2024 ski test. Today we're talking about this Fischer Ranger 108. This is the second widest ski in the Fischer Ranger collection, and while a lot of things might suggest that as you go wider, the skis get more playful, I think this 108 is like the exception to that. I think that's true for all the other Rangers, but for whatever reason, this 108 is pretty darn strong. I think it's just the collection of materials in it and the amount of mass that it has. It is a big, burly ski, although the shape makes it so you're not locked in. So it's not like a big, burly ski that you can't turn. It's a big, burly ski that you can turn, which I suppose is a great benefit. But it's super interesting. You know, on the Ranger 102 here in Vermont, I find that ski is super nimble, just like wiggling through the trees. This 108, when I ski it in the trees here in Vermont, I find it a little big, and I just immediately wish that I was out west where I could let this ski run. I think there are definitely stronger skiers than me, both from a technique perspective and from an actual strength perspective that probably wouldn't have the same issues on it here in tight Vermont trees, but yeah, I think that's an interesting way to think about it, and I don't think I'm wrong either. So inside this ski, we get that same beech and poplar wood core that's used in all the other Ranger skis except the 90 and the 84. And then we get this shaped TI laminate underfoot. In the 108, especially in the 116, when we get that wide, it's pretty darn short. You know, it's really just focused underfoot. I would say it extends a little bit in front or behind your bindings, but not nearly as much as, say, the Ranger 96. That ski, it extends quite far through the remainder of the ski. And then that flex cut, you know, all the Ranger skis have this little triangular cut on both sides of the metal laminate. That's designed to give this ski a more natural flex underfoot, but the Ranger 108 it's still pretty substantial from a flex pattern perspective. Certainly not the stiffest ski in the world, but there's some supportive flex there for sure. From a weight perspective, this is going to be interesting because this is only a 171, coming in at just under 1,900 grams. So not the lightest ski in the world. I think when you get up in the longer lengths, you actually notice that weight a little bit more. But as a strong, stable ski, weight is not necessarily a bad thing. When you want a ski that's capable at high speeds, that's not going to feel like it's getting deflected or like it's wildly unstable, you need a little bit of weight. So just because a ski is heavy certainly does not mean it's a bad thing. Looking at the shape here, kind of noticeably more tail rise in the Ranger 108, and I'm glad it's there. You know, like I said, it's a pretty burly ski, but I think putting that much rocker in the tail does help give it a little bit of forgiveness. I certainly wouldn't describe this as a overall forgiving ski, but I think that amount of tail rocker back there is pretty darn important. And then tip rocker, about where my hand is, and similar to the 102, you know, there's not a tremendous amount of splay here, but looking at just the length of the rocker profile, there's quite a lot of tip rocker up there. So Ranger 108, for me, it has like a couple different personalities. I do think it's a great powder ski. You know, I think it, like, when you have it in deep, soft snow, it just feels fun and agile and kind of bouncy and playful and drifty and smeary and like all those fun powder skiing words. There's not a huge difference actually between the 108 and the 116 when you're in that really deep snow. The spot where I think this ski has more of a distinct personality is in chopped up snow or like trees where you don't have deep snow. And in those conditions, to me, it feels like a big mountain ski. It feels so strong. Like if I had to, God forbid, if I had to go do a Freeride World Tour run, which it sounds cool, but I would be real scared, I would probably choose this. Like I actually, standing up here, I can't think of a ski that I would trust more in a situation like that, in super, super steep, demanding terrain, more than this Ranger 108. So that to me is very interesting. For me, it's challenging in Vermont trees, but I would choose it in a heartbeat if I was skiing steeper, open, kind of exposed terrain. It's not the quickest ski in the world, but in those scenarios, you absolutely can get it to maneuver quick enough. You know, it's not like you have to make subsequent really quick turns when you're in that more open terrain. It's more like you might have to make one to make like a quick movement to get pointed the other direction to then ski the rest of the line, stuff like that. Really good in that regard. You know, it just feels like there's more stability and more power to this ski than you would expect if you just looked at its construction and looked at its shape, especially if you did that through the lens of the Ranger 102. There's less metal and there's more rocker, but for some reason this ski does feel more substantial than that 102, and that can either be a benefit or more of a hindrance depending on what you're like as a skier and where you're skiing it. So it's one of those things where you have to go on that decision-making journey on your own. Hard for me to stand up here and kind of say in a black and white way like who should choose it and who shouldn't choose it. Say if you're out west, it's a bigger range of skiers, like somebody my size or a less aggressive skier, you'll do just fine. Here in Vermont, this is probably a dedicated powder ski when we're getting up to 108 underfoot. And then I think it's a smaller grouping of skiers, and that group of skiers should be strong and capable, and at least of the advanced or expert level or ability level. So that's the Ranger 108. Really cool ski, just kind of unique in how it falls in the line, in my opinion. Let us know if you have any questions about it. More than happy to talk more about this Ranger 108, and we will see you out there on the slopes.